We're good to go. Okay. Hello, Council. Just to let you know, Councillor Drago Stefanik is going to be late. There was a highway closure on the North Highway, but he should be here shortly. And another announcement that I would like to make is I will be leaving the meeting at 7:05 tonight, or sorry, 7:05, and our Deputy Mayor will take over at that time. Okay, if we can have a mover and a seconder to call the meeting to order, please. Moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor Ted Shetman. Be resolved that we do call this special meeting of council to order on Thursday, May 4th, 2023 at 6 p.m. And if there's no objection, we'll continue. Councillor Kistemaker Belinda, if you could do our land acknowledgement, please.
The Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging the land on which we gather here today is the Treaty 9, 1905-1906 territory, the traditional lands of the Indigenous peoples. As we work towards reconciliation, may we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse peoples.
Thank you, Councillor. And we'll continue on with the approval of the agenda. So we have a presentation tonight. So the agenda is as presented. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor Ted Shetman. Be it resolved that council does hereby approve the agenda as presented. And if there's no objection, we'll continue. Item number 5 is declaration of pecuniary interest, declaration of conflict of interest. You can do that now, council, or at any time throughout the meeting if such a situation arises. Good evening, Councillor Stefanik. Nice that you could join us. And glad to see you here safe.
Sure.
Okay, so we're just at the presentation part, and we have Michael Wildman and David Reid joining us from Municipal Government Wayfinders. Hi, nice to see you guys again.
Good evening.
Always good to have you in Hornepayne virtually.
Thank you.
And I'll turn the floor over to you, Michael, and you can take over.
Okay, great. I'll just share my screen here. Okay, council can see the cover sheet there.
Yes,
right,
we can. Thank you.
So this evening, council, we're here to present you with, we'll call the final draft of your strategic plan. And as you know, we met with you with preliminary findings about a month and a half ago and sought your direction on how to finalize the plan. So this evening, we're bringing that to you. We hope we've hit on all of the things that you wanted. But of course, if there's something that you think you'd like to see added or changed or deleted, we can certainly accommodate that, of course, throughout the evening. We will walk you through the plan itself because I think there's no better document to be looking at than the actual plan right now, and that way we can point to things if we need to. So also with me is David Reid, my associate, as you know, and he's certainly here to help answer any questions or facilitate any dialogue along the way. So as we look at your plan here, we see your title page with all that it comes with. And this lovely crew here, always important to show who your leaders are, and this is your political leadership team. That's a great photo, and with all your names on it. And then for quick reference for anybody who's looking for something, here are the sections of the strat plan. Also, there are links behind these words and or numbers. So if you click them, you can go straight to that section if you wish. When it comes to content, as council knows, this was a refresh exercise and it was not a full start over exercise. So there's a fair amount of boilerplate content that we had arrived at as good information to include in the plan the first time that council saw fit to continue on with some of that. So when we think of the executive summary, there are some subtle changes. I would say the most important one to this section in the executive summary was a comment from Councillor Stefanik. It's the very last sentence. He thought it was important that annual strategic plan report cards are made available to the public. And so that comment has been included in the executive summary. The rest of this page really just paints the picture on how you got from your first service delivery review to this strategic plan that you have today. Fairly straightforward. Then it talks about how we walked through this process. After the election, council authorized the strategic plan. And in order to do this, there were some new consultations that occurred with council, township staff, and in addition, there was a community online survey that was posted, and that feedback figures prominently in this refresh exercise. So this plan really is something that you will be leaning on quite a bit to ensure business continuity. I think it's also important that you have a message from your head of council, and Mayor Fort was kind enough to give us some words for that, and she quoted, I would say, probably my favorite political historical person, Abraham Lincoln, with a great quote there. I won't read it all to you, but I think it rings very true. It's very accurate in terms of the need and the importance of a strategic plan here in Hornepayne. Also important, a message from the Chief Administrative Officer and how it is important to the administration to help them guide their process and maintain focus and really sort of come together with well-informed and researched decisions. And then we have some background, and some of this background is generally the same as your first one. We did talk about new challenges a little bit, though. We talk about the growing infrastructure gap and the ever-changing municipal legislative landscape. That was true then, but it's even more true now. We also followed up with some commentary about some of the new economic challenges resulting from things like geopolitical issues, the global pandemic, as you know, and really the strain that these have placed on the township's limited resources. So we introduced that notion because it's something new, and it's something that, at least for some time during this plan, will play and figure prominently in your thoughts as you look to your strategic plan and your other visions and plans that you put into place. When we look at the mission statement, there has been no change, but it's important to go through this. Your mission is about why you're there, what your purpose, your reason for being. And I think you have a very good one here. We are a township focused on providing value-added experience to our citizens, visitors, and investors. And then there's a description below that. This part has not changed. Staff and council were both of the same mind that this was good wording and still relevant. Your vision is where you want to be someday. You may not be there yet, and you aspire to go there. And your vision statement has not changed, but I think it's important to also repeat this. It's our quest for continual improvement and quality of life will make us the township where people want to live, work, visit, and invest. So it builds on your mission and talks about your ultimate goal, where you want to be. And a great description underneath as well. Talks about the center of Ontario and the desire to have people gravitate to Hornepayne. Your core value section is really where things began to change a bit. You'll recall that you had some good core values. There was some discussion about adding a new one, and I'll cover that in a moment, and that is in here. And Mayor Ford had a good suggestion, and we tried to carry that through, was to provide some descriptors, some definition behind what the core values are. So we did some research onto some of the definitions and the accepted terminology that goes along with some of these terms, and we will take you through those. So these are your core values: integrity, accountability, and transparency, hard work, respect, inclusive, and resident focused is the new one. So that was the one that was added in. And if we go now to those core values described, the first one being integrity. This is worded as we will uphold virtuous principles in our daily activities. We will demonstrate our dependability and reliability. We will be truthful and authentic in the workplace. We will strive to make good judgments consistently by carefully weighing all reasonable options and assessing how our decisions may impact others. So that is the description that we have recommended be included with integrity. If we go over now to accountability and transparency, the descriptor is, we will hold ourselves accountable for our commitments and our performance. As a public organization, we will conduct business in the open with clarity, and we will report on our major activities. This will build trust within our organization and our community. So again, sort of, as council knows, this is a big one for all municipal governments, and the province often places a high regard on this one. I think this one is very important for all municipalities. The next one is hard work, and the descriptor is diligence and consistency will be at the heart of all we do. We will find ways to work efficiently by leveraging smart technology and best practices. We will maintain high standards, work in earnest, and go above the call of duty as we deliver services. And the next one is respect. The descriptor is, we will be accepting of everyone regardless of any differences. We will be kind and courteous. We will listen attentively and respond with compassion. And inclusive. We will welcome all people. We will embrace diversity of all kinds. All people will receive access to our services and resources. We will strive to build a team founded on trust and respect regardless of our differences. And resident focused. Our focus is our community. We will consider resident needs as we conduct our daily activities and as we make decisions that positively impact our community. So I'm going to take a pause there for council on the core values, and if there's anything that council would like to comment or say, I'll pause there, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Is there any comments or questions from council right now? No? I only have one, and it's just because it just doesn't really fit with who we are, but I love the picture, I have to say. But I was just wondering, with the hard work, we don't have any farming in Hornepayne at this magnitude.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if we could find something that's maybe more wood industry or rail industry.
I'll see what I can do. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So where the rubber hits the road is really your key priorities and your action items. And this is where you really turn your vision into action. This is the big strategic visionary things that are important to running the business that you're in. We have attached to your action items a P1, P2, P3 priority. These are recommendations. And these recommendations are based on sometimes legislation, they're sometimes risk, and sometimes they're performance-based. And also, sometimes they are, it's important to do P1 before you do P2. In other words, you need to do a certain study before you move on to another thing. So that's why they are listed that way. Now, of course, conditions change all the time. And this is by no means cast in stone. So if conditions do change, certainly you can. These are advice from us to you, and you're certainly able to work with those priorities should conditions change, or should you feel you want to do something in a different sequence. Your 6 key priorities were derived from common themes that emerged from the consultative workshops back when we did the first one, and they rang true again through these consultations. So they are governance, infrastructure and asset management, finance, economic development, technology, and master planning. So your first one is key priorities. This descriptor that's on this page has not changed from your original one. We didn't see any any need, and we didn't receive instructions to change anything, so we left that as is. However, as we get into your action items, these are new. These are based on the consultations that we did with council staff and your community. And so in this list, we find adopt and follow minimum maintenance standards. This we covered the last time, but very important in a world of joint and several liability that you adopt and follow those minimum maintenance standards. We have a continuance to enhance reporting to council. I think Aileen has been starting to work on that, but we know there's more that can be done. So that is another one. The implement and maintain an employee succession plan for staff and the new CAO, followed by implement and follow a planned schedule for regular bylaw and policy reviews. So this would be the type of thing where certain bylaws should be reviewed on a regular basis. And that doesn't mean they need to change, but they should be reviewed to see if they do need to change. Sometimes legislation changes in the background and you're not even aware of it. And it gives you an opportunity to revisit it and see if there's any updates that need to be done. That's an important one. Implement a municipal communication strategy and develop strategies for truth and reconciliation. Before I move to the next slide, Madam Mayor, is there anything council would like to ask or comment on?
Any comments from council? No. The only comment I have is is the municipal communication strategy.
Okay.
It was a priority from our last strat plan. And I just don't want to see it lost as a P2.
Okay. Does that mean that, Madam Mayor, you'd like to bump that up?
Yeah, I would. I'd like to see that happen. Like, I'm not sure when we look at the priorities. So when we see P1, are those listed in order of P1s then, or all P1s we can decide which way they go, or are they all being worked on in conjunction?
They're a grouping, and certainly, you know, it's based on your resource capacity to be able to do them. Some you may be able to do it at the same time. Others may, you know, have to sort of follow the first one or the second one. But happy to, if council's interested in moving that up, certainly happy to do that for you if that's what you'd like to see.
Well, I'm not sure. Do one of the other priorities when you're looking at the other key pillars, will it affect another priority? Because I'm sure you have them scheduled out for the year.
Yeah, so we did do the year thing in the previous version of your plan, and we want, when we have a municipality with very limited staffing resources, we're beginning to find that prioritizing them and then having the staff come to you as part of their annual development, the departmental work plans is a better way to have that sort of discussion on exactly when those will happen. You could move it up into P1. That doesn't mean it has to be done this year. And as part of the departmental work plans, you can then have that discussion with your staff about which ones you see fit to put at the very top of the list.
Okay. Okay, we can leave it as a P2 then.
Okay.
If we're going to have the ability to say when it's completed.
These are our best advice, but you certainly have every opportunity to make adjustments along the way.
Okay, go ahead, Councilor.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, obviously all these boards are fluid, so therefore they could change, alter at any one time as our strategic plan moves along. Priorities come higher than the other ones, so it's a living document, so it can be changed at any one time as per council's direction, correct?
Yeah, I agree, and I would suggest to you that it's very important around budget time, before you adopt budget, for you to come back with your report card and some suggestions, if any, because then as part of budget you can consider that as, you know, if there is funding that you decide you want, you can dovetail those two together very nicely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Okay,
Yeah, I
if we're
think
okay,
we're good
Madam
to
Mayor?
move on. Yes,
Okay.
we are.
Okay, so when it comes to this infrastructure and asset management, we did update this quote from AMO. It's a little more current, and it discusses that much of the Ontario's infrastructure has not been, it was built in the 50s and 60s and needs upgrading or replacement to continue to serve communities. And asset management planning regulations require municipalities to have a strategic asset document, and they must implement core assets by 2022 and all assets by 2024. So a very important statement. I think it ties really, really well to this next section of key priorities. As we look at these, we see here on the first one, complete a building condition assessment of all township buildings to inform short, medium, and long-term decision-making. So when you do a condition assessment, someone will come to you and say, this building has a life of X, maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And there are certain steps that need to be done even to maintain that life, that part of the life cycle. So this would find its way into your asset management plan once you complete it. It would also find its way into your budget, and it would find its way into your long-term capital forecast. It would be the sort of the leading document for all of your buildings, and it's a very important one. The adopt a municipal vehicles and equipment maintenance and disposal policy, very important. Again, this document would do the same thing as the last document. It would find its way into your budget. It would find its way into your 10-year forecast, and over time, it should find its way into your asset management plan. And then you have the actual policy for your municipal buildings, and I would suggest that this should be as high a priority as you complete your condition assessment. Could probably be done in tandem, actually. There may be some synergies there, but it's the municipal buildings and properties maintenance and disposal policy. Again, another document dovetails into all of those 3 or 4 documents that I mentioned earlier. Complete phase 1 of the arena project. I know that's a very important initiative for the township. Acquire environmental compliance approval for your storm and sanitary sewage. That is a ministry requirement, and it needs to be done. Complete the 3rd Avenue rehabilitation project. Undertake the chlorination upgrade project. That's also a regulatory compliance one. I just think it's going to take a little bit more effort to get there on that one. Update and maintain our asset management plan, including buildings with cross-reference to tangible capital assets. Now, this is shown as a P2, and this is because of what you saw on the previous page, Council. You saw that first we're going to do the condition assessment. So it would make sense to get through that condition assessment, get through some of those other policies, and then go and update your asset management plan and with the buildings. So there's a logical sequencing of those. Pursue the acquisition of asphalt hot box with recycle capabilities. And after that, develop and implement a rehab program with the hot box. And also plan for phase 2 of the arena project so that it is shovel ready. So with that, Council, I'll pause, and if there's any questions or comments, happy to field them.
Any questions from council? I just have one for the environmental compliance approval for the sewage.
Sure. Yeah.
The date of that?
My understanding is it's been asked for by the ministry, and they are tolerant, but they will follow up. So they'll want you to get it done. I would be saying to you that this should be on your list because we put it in P1. It should be on your list of things to do quite soon. It's not, well, depending on what the ministry asks of you, and some ministry offices are a little different in what they ask for. But I would suggest you should be consulting with them as soon as possible and moving forward. I wouldn't delay on this at all. I'd start on this right away.
Okay, and then further that, the regulatory compliance that you have in brackets on page 25 as
Yes.
a P2, I'm just wondering when's that that regulation required?
Yeah, I think that's an important one, and I think what's going to need to happen is some significant consultation with the ministry on their expectations. I think here's my suggestion to you: you have an operator that obviously has got skills in this field, but I think at some point you're going to need to retain a consultant to help you with that, and it may be appropriate to consider getting some preliminary advice on anything that needs to happen in order to fulfill this requirement. So almost like an opinion letter on process it's a pretty, how should I put this? It's a very complex field. Water treatment and sewage treatment are very, very complex. And so you'll have to find the right person to advise you on that. But I would suggest that you'll want to ask them to produce a strategy to move you through that. And it would be in form of an opinion letter. Does not need to be a big full-blown report, but they could give you dates and milestone steps.
Okay, thank you for that. And what my final question was, our plan for phase 2 of the arena project, when we say shovel ready, we're talking about the upgrades to the curling club surface and ice surface areas of the arena?
It's anything basically beyond your phase 1 once you resolve that. And then again, up to council to decide. Maybe there's a third phase, but getting your next phase scoped and then making it shovel ready. You may decide for financial reasons that there's maybe a third step just because of affordability purposes. But this sort of triggers a review of that and to get it in place so that it is shovel ready.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So finance, this page is unchanged. It's the same wording as from your original strat plan. And what we're saying here is we cannot lose focus on the fact that your 10-year capital forecast ages every year. So you must update it so that it's always a 10-year capital forecast and it doesn't soon become only a 5-year capital forecast. So you need to continue advancing it. And you rely on documents like your asset management strategy, any other master plans or reports that you do along the way, your building condition assessment, etc. So these are very important, and things like your vehicle replacement policy will help inform what goes into your long range plan as well. So very important that this is a number one priority in my mind. This is a financial priority that must be kept up to date. The next one is budget submission and adoption timelines. Critical that it arrive on council's desk around the beginning of the year and that it be approved shortly thereafter. There are so many benefits to doing it this way. If you're able to get it approved as early in the year as possible, you can start calling tenders early in the year. You can start getting better prices. It's much harder to get a competitive price if your budget gets adopted later in the year. By the time you get to your tender, you may be all the providers may be already busy, and they may just throw out a high price at you. That's one of the things we found over the years. So the earlier, the better. Adopt a best practice-based procurement policy, so some updates there. Adopt a best practice-based reserve and reserve fund policy, very important as well. And increase regular investment into asset rehabilitation. It's hard to know exactly where to begin, and because you have a few studies that you want to do to help inform that. I mean, you can go ahead and start investing, but to get these regular investments going that match up with your studies, you'll want to have those done to really have a well-informed investment strategy. On that, Council, I'll pause and ask if there are any questions.
Do we have any questions, Council? Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna stop though. I've got a few questions. Our best practice procurement policy. Michael, do you know if there's any northern communities or organizations that are looking at it for Northern Ontario? Just because we were at a conference and we just were in discussion about some of the buying power that we do, the shared service of buying together, sometimes doesn't work for us in Northern Ontario. And so I'm wondering, or is this something that we could ask the Northern Policy Institute maybe to study to try and make a better strategy, or how do we get there?
It makes that makes tremendously good sense on the buying power side of things. David has done some analysis actually for other clients on that very topic, and looked at sort of, you know, the benefits of doing so. Certainly that's a very good idea. Yes, you could have it studied, and I would suggest to you there is a AMCTO has a municipal Google search tool, and it's open to anyone, but your staff would know where it is. But you can search by northern municipalities, and you could search by recent versions of procurement to see what the best practices are that are out there. So you can be very targeted in your search for information with that. So that would be a useful tool in developing that.
Okay, thank you. That's my only question.
Okay. This has not changed either, other than the photo. So as we move into the actual content, some things that were there before and remain important. Adopt a branding and marketing strategy. That's very helpful tool for how you go about getting investors into your community, and very helpful. And along with that, a market gap study is a study that looks at where there is opportunity for business investment within your community, where those gaps exist, and which ones are most likely to succeed. That's a very helpful tool also. When an investor comes to town with some ideas, you can provide them with some bona fide answers about what is expected, what would have the best opportunity to succeed. Everybody wants a Walmart, but Walmart have a very specific strategy about how they place themselves and whatnot. This will focus in on what will work well within your community. I've done them. I've implemented them with great success. They actually work quite well, and that will help with your assessment base, no doubt. Implement a staff proposed 5-year economic growth plan. So what that means is and maybe David wants to cover this one. It was kind of his thought pattern on that, but I'll ask David to speak on that one.
So we looked at this. A lot of municipalities actually go out to consultants for this, but we didn't feel that was necessary in your case. But to look internally with your own staff and with council and perhaps some local stakeholders to look at what sort of an overarching economic development plan would look like, and what it would entail and how it would be implemented. So we just thought that to bring some clarity to all the economic development action items. How do they dovetail together? How do you go about implementing them? And is there any strategies that you might implement to see them to fruition? So I know there's some was talk about some growth strategies to grow the residential sector in Hornepayne. There was talk about the industrial development. There's also the market gap analysis would look at some retail opportunities perhaps, but to implement some kind of strategy for that growth plan would be, I think, helpful. So that's the idea behind that.
And it says proposed because ultimately council will have to review that and provide direction to staff, of course, on finalizing it. And the next one is to make the EDO position permanent. We feel strongly that that's a very important position for the township if you're going to be moving forward with all of these different plans and strategies to grow Hornepayne, grow its residential sector, grow its industrial base, etc. Implement business retention and attraction strategies, very important as well. And some of these have been started, but there's plenty that can be done. Revitalize the Hallmark Center area also, and take steps to either rehabilitate or remove derelict buildings. And these would be not just public buildings. These would be private buildings if necessary, if there was an unsafe condition or some scenario that required some improvements. Sell residential lots to encourage more new homes. That's not just properties owned by the township. That's encouraging the sale of any residential lot to encourage more new homes. And market industrial lands for development opportunities. So I will pause there, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Is there any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Spanik.
Yeah, through you. I'm looking at the first one, remove derelict buildings. I really think that should be P1. And I'll tell you why. The derelict buildings in our community for the last 39 years devalued our community. New members that have potential employees come in to drive around the community. It really has a negative impact on people that come here. Number two, the potential business. They will drive around, they're good business person, do due diligence. If you see 15, 20 derelict buildings, why a business will come here? I mean, just common sense, it's not rocket science, so I think that should be P1. Remove the buildings, let's get on the move, because it's been historically, for the last 39 years, always 4, 5, 6 buildings that are here, and it's a real negative impact on our community.
Well, we're certainly happy to make that change if that's what council would like to see.
Thank you,
And I would agree with
I
that as well. Sorry.
I think we're in agreement with that. We've been talking about it for a few years. We made a significant investment in an excavator. So, yeah.
Okay.
I would even be at the point where we just have a plan of which ones are coming down each year, and that we can fully take them down, that they're not half taken down, and that we commit to that, even if, it can build up each year too, as long as we see some of them that are coming down in the main ISO areas, which I understand for staff, that it's a challenge, when you're working where everyone's watching you, so. Go ahead, yeah.
I was just going to mention that the Public Works Department, the Public Works Manager is definitely moving towards that. There has been, I believe, at least one fully taken down, and they're moving on to the next one. So their aim is to get at least one done a year, if not more, if possible. But as everybody knows, we're limited in resources and staff capacity, but it's definitely on the radar, and it's something that they're aiming to do each year.
The reason, Madam Mayor, the reason we said take steps is because there may be different steps for different buildings and different scenarios. One such step might be to pass a property standards bylaw, for example, or a yards bylaw, for example. So we've left that open to you on how you proceed with that. So we can make that change then for you. That's not a problem at all. We good to move ahead?
Any more questions from council? No, you're good to move ahead. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, so on technology, this is a new statement. What new technology does is create new opportunities to do a job that customers want done, and that's so true. How the world is changing every day through the use of technology. So promote the township's new website to increase usage and realize efficiencies. You'll recall in the survey that it wasn't too well known that the website was there and able to be leveraged. So promoting that would be one way of sort of increasing efficiencies and increasing usage. The Ontario 211 for emergency and other support. Small municipalities get overwhelmed real fast in an emergency. And Ontario 211's services would be very, very helpful to you in a scenario like that. Implement the MFOA endorsed budget software to realize efficiencies. So this is software that municipal finance officers of Ontario, they have sort of endorsed that system, and for efficiency purposes would be make for things more effective. And implementing fire management software. And I'll pause here, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, are there any questions from council on that? I do have one question about the endorsed budget software to realize efficiencies.
Yeah.
So what type of efficiencies are we seeing, and what would they be?
Well, they're a software so MFOA is very attuned to all legislation and all regulations and all reporting requirements and all those types of things. And so these types of software, generally speaking, get regular updates so that if something changes in how reporting is needed, you're not having to manually change the way you do it. It happens sort of automatically through updates. And it also does a lot of sort of the general reporting. It sets up formats for you so that you're not, again, manually doing the formatting piece to it, and does it in logical sequences that allows for sort of a more efficient, more quick way of not only developing a budget, but reporting on it and tracking on it and all those good things.
Okay, and do we know how many municipalities in Ontario use it? Is it widespread?
I don't have that stat, but I do know that MFOA is really held in high regard amongst treasurers across the province. So, I would think it's fairly well accepted, but I don't have a number for you, Madam Mayor. I'm not too sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. On master planning, the statement has been changed. It's Alexander Graham Bell. Before anything else, preparation is the key to success. So true. Always good to plan it before you try to do it. And you've done some tremendous things when it comes to master planning, embracing the service delivery review. I still remember Councillor Stefanik saying that he used to walk around with that report under his arm at all times. And that is what sort of triggered a number of things for you, that master plan approach, including your last strategic plan. So very important to set your goals at the master plan level first. The accessibility plan, very important, and it's a compliance matter. So we believe that should be done as soon as possible. Develop a housing strategy. When we think of the provincial statistics that they want to see in terms of homes being built and the changes in legislation that they've done to trigger that through the passing of bills 23, 108, 109 to accelerate construction of homes, be they private sector or public sector developments. And then we have, and Madam Mayor, you and I have talked about this, is the federal government's immigration policies, and they're pretty aggressive, and that presents tremendous opportunity for a municipality like Hornepayne. So having strategies to to accommodate that would be helpful. Commissioning a fire underwriters survey, and that is a free service from the fire underwriters. It helps the chief do some planning after the fact. Once he receives that information, they sort of outline where areas for improvement could be. And then the chief could come back to you and talk to you about that and see where you might be able to help him achieve those areas of improvement. And where you do make improvements and your scores go up, insurance for your residents can go down. So your insurance ratings can improve. So a very important thing there. We heard in the surveys, and we heard from all of you that finding ways to prioritize arts, culture, recreation plans and strategies was important. That came up fairly loud and clear. Ultimately, adopting a fire master plan, and our advice would be wait until you've completed your fire underwriter survey, and adopt a water and wastewater master plan and update it about every 5 years. So those are the master plans that we have. I'll pause there.
Any questions from council? I just have one just from when back when you mentioned it, and I realized I'm thinking we took it out, but I can't remember exactly, is the property standards bylaw.
Yes,
That it's
so
not is it included in something else that I'm missing?
it is not in there, but if I roll back a bit here, on page 30, I would suggest to you that in order to move forward with rehabilitation and removal of derelict buildings, that would be one area where you would also include a provision for doing your property standards bylaw. That's an area where you would probably find some synergies and do it. So that to me would be one of the steps. If you're concerned and would like to see it listed separately, that's not a problem for us either, though.
No, that's all. I think that'd be fine. So just when we're looking at this, so the implementation of this item, so if this first action item on the page 30 here, so then from council's perspective, do we expect a plan that comes back from the staff that says these are the steps we're going to include to try and meet this priority?
Yeah, exactly. So I would like, if I were doing it, I would envisage a staff report that would list a few of the things, the steps, if you will, that they are recommending to move forward with this initiative. I would assume on that it would include the preparation, at the very least, of a property standards bylaw. In addition, I would suggest there's two lines of thought on this, but you should at least consider yards as well in that as well, because you can pass a separate yards bylaw, or you can attempt to roll it into property standards. My preference is having two separate ones. And then you would have any other steps associated with, sort of how things would need to unfold to make this happen.
Yeah, just wanted to point out the community improvement plan is a good tool for
Exactly.
those. Yeah, you could leverage that for both rehabilitation and possibly leverage the community improvement plan for tearing down derelict buildings. It might be a fit for that as well.
Okay, great. You actually stole my next question, David. That was what I was going to ask, where it would fit in. So it would fit in under this take steps as well.
Yeah, providing it's included in your community improvement plan that's approved. Brownfield sites, environmentally sensitive buildings that need to be tore down, whether they have asbestos or different reasons, fixing the outside of buildings, the facades of the outside buildings, all those things, potentially the community improvement plan will be able to help with.
And that, my understanding is that particular CIP is nearing readiness. It's not quite, it's with the province, if I'm not mistaken. I think the last time I heard about it,
Yes.
Awaiting formal feedback there. So that would just be, it's not like you have to do it now. You just have to finalize it, whatever the province says. Often They don't say anything because a lot of these are standard template approach because they follow legislation. So it's unlikely the province will have a lot to say about it. But once you hear back from them, you'll be able to potentially leverage that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And I used to, when I was a CAO, I used to print this out and stick it to my bulletin board in my office. It's just a quick reference tool. Right now it's in the order of the P1s are at the top, the P2s and P3s are on the way down. This isn't going to answer all your questions, but it's a quick thing. I often like for staff to have these around so that when they're writing staff reports to council, they can look at that and say, what's the reference? You know, if I'm doing this, why am I doing this? And then they can quickly look at that, realize that there's a section in their strat plan about it and go and look it up in a little bit more detail. So very helpful sort of quick reference tool for everyone, council as well. So this is assembled in the order in which I presented it to you. So if we make the one change on the priority, as Councillor Stefanik had said, that would be the one thing that would change in here. Might just bump it up a couple notches on that list. Just a quick reference tool. And I'll pause for a second. This is everything in your plan just summarized on one page.
Okay, I just had a couple of comments just
Sure.
on the whole plan itself. Just on the
Okay.
first page, when it's printed, the coloring planning to succeed is very difficult to see on a printed copy.
Okay,
So,
we will take a look at that.
and then I'm just wondering on page 10, where we have situated in the center of Ontario. I'm wondering if we want to highlight center with a capital because we've been branding ourselves that way.
No problem.
And then let's see that trademark.
No problem.
But that was it. That was all just from aesthetics kind of and embodying who we are.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One last
Eileen.
thing.
Oh, just-
One last
just
thing.
one second, Michael.
Sure.
Okay. I'm just gonna give Eileen the floor for a second.
Okay.
Go ahead, Eileen.
I was just going to ask if the deputy clerk can speak through me.
Yep, yeah. Go ahead.
She has a question, sorry.
I was just for the master planning, so it has accessibility plan on there. Let me find the exact wording. Adopt an accessibility plan for compliance. That's been adopted, but it does have to be updated every 5 years, like the water and wastewater master plan. So I'm not sure if it should be, just amended to also say update every 5 years, because we do now have a compliant accessibility plan.
It's current.
Yeah, we adopted it last meeting.
Sorry, when
Yeah,
was it
just like-
adopted?
I believe on the 24th, April 24th.
April 24th.
Oh, okay. You're ahead of me. What I can change that to maintain.
Perfect.
And then it would probably then drop down to like a P3 then, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be done for 5 years now.
Okay. Madam Mayor, there was just one last thing I just wanted to identify, just because it ties into what Councillor Stefanik was talking about. We do a simplified report card for status purposes. This is a sort of a template that could be used. And it's just another tool that can help council stay up to date on where things are. It would obviously go along with a report, but it's just another quick reference tool that could be relied on to just see status. And if you see here, these are master planning, but you can see that there's a brief description, the priority that was given to it, who the contact person is, the lead, and then the status. And the status is could be started, not started, complete, or delayed. It just helps everybody know where things are in the process.
Thank you for that. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask if the treasurer can speak through.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
I was just gonna, say in response to, in which, Mayor Fort's comment about Centre of Ontario, just in the document, it's spelled ER and we spell it RE.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, let's get it right. Did you catch that, Michael?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, we were just talking again about the Centre of Ontario, that we spell it RE and not ER. I didn't catch that either. But thank you, Melissa.
All right.
Okay, and
we can
so
do all that.
I do have a question about the flow. So, because you had mentioned while you were presenting that we should be looking at our strategic plan ahead of our budget, so we know where we're at.
Yes.
So, and then if we're doing budget in January, then we should be looking at where we're at with our strategic plan at the end of the year, just a
Yes.
review of it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we go into budget so that we've got that at the forefront.
Yeah, so what I would suggest is exactly that. Say in December, Aileen brings a report card forward on the strat plan, or early January, and that report gets appended. I don't know, do you hand out a budget document to council, a formal document, or is it all digital?
Yes. No, you can have either or.
Okay. Because normally what we would do for reference is tuck that in the back of a printed copy or as an attachment to the digital copy, just for quick reference for council, so that they can think about things that they may have heard a month ago and reflect back on it.
Okay, is there any other questions? And do you have any more comments, Michael, David?
No, just I think it was great. Great working with council and staff on this. I think you've got a good tool here, and this will help inform a lot of things you're doing, including your departmental work plans. So I think it's great.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from council? Go ahead, Councillor Stefan.
Yeah, I really enjoyed reading the report, Michael and David. It was a solid report, something concrete you could bite your teeth into, and I like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, next steps would be we would tweak to your satisfaction based on the direction we received tonight, and then you would put it on a upcoming meeting for adoption.
Okay, great. And our next meeting is the 17th. I'm not sure if it can be tweaked in time for next week.
Not a problem. The hardest thing for me is going to be finding the right picture for the to replace there, but the rest of it I can do.
How about if I commit to that? I'll send you something.
If you can find one that's not copyrighted, I do have some sources, but now that I know what you're looking for, I'll see what I can do as well.
Okay. Thank you. If you need something, we can snap one, and then it's not copyrighted.
Okay, well, I mean, hey, if you want something else in there and you think you can get a good picture, we'd be happy to put it in for you.
Okay. I think we can find something. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being in Hornepayne virtually. We're always glad to see you both, Michael and David.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna actually,
Thank you very
before
much.
you leave, I should ask, we didn't open up the floor, if staff has any questions or anything that they'd like. No? Okay, we're good to go then. Thank you so much, and you have a great night.
Yeah,
You too.
and enjoy the nice weather that's coming, hopefully, this weekend.
Yay!
Yeah.
Snow next week, though.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, council, we have our adjournment. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kissemaker, second by Councillor Peter Kissemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1998, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at their special meeting held on Thursday, May 4th, 2023, be hereby read a first and second time, be considered, read a third time, and finally passed. And I'm just, in my mind, I'm thinking I already did a number 1998 at some point, but if I have, we'll change the number. But anyway, those in favor? And that's carried. And the adjournment, if we can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Douglas, second by Councillor Belinda Kissemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby adjourn the special meeting of council held on Thursday, May 4th, 2023 at 6:59 p.m. Those in favor? And that is carried. Right on, council. Have a great night, everyone. And I didn't mean to put you on the